Well, looks like maybe we're live. Good morning. Welcome to Green Cow. Hope you're making this a great day. It's Friday. Got a good message for you today about careers. And yeah.
And here we are. And our
here
captions are auto-generated.
And our captions are auto-generated.
Yeah.
Oh, on the phone.
Right. I think that should just be something that like scrolls across the screen when you're watching it and you're like, wait, what did they just say?
It actually is reasonably accurate.
Maybe for you, not so much for me. I think maybe I just talk too fast or I'm too loud. Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. As always, we would love to hear what you're up to, and we'd love to hear some good news that you have. So Mark's here with us.
Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Mark.
First comment.
Mark won the first comment award, so that's awesome.
Yeah, that'll be shipped right out to you, Mark.
Yeah, it's a Dunkin' Donuts gift card. All right. So if you are
and
watching,
so the last person to sign in gets what? Starbucks gift card?
You all get my undying gratitude and affection. How about that?
Oh, special.
Yeah. All right. So if you are watching live, please let us know that you're here. Say hi and give us a hashtag replay if you're watching on the replay. And as always, share with us some things that you've got going on this week, as well as any good news, either good news that you've seen or good news that's going on in your life. You got any good news today?
I always have good news. It was a beautiful day when I got up this morning. I actually was up a little earlier than usual, like 3 o'clock. And
that's really early.
That's pretty early. But I got a bunch of stuff done at, well, not so much at 3 a.m., but certainly before 7.
Well, that's good.
And
but one of those things was not bringing your phone.
And one of those things was not bringing my phone. So, yeah, it made communication a little bit difficult this morning.
It's all right. He doesn't text you back normally anyway. So you never know if he just doesn't have his phone or if he's just mentally checking off what you said.
Yeah. And thank you, Carla, for my lovely cup.
All right. Well, I see that there are 5 people watching and only one person has said hello. So please say hello and let us know what good news you have going on today. I was noticing this morning as I was walking around 7 this morning that it was really nice today. And there were actually birds chirping and signs of spring.
So this morning I have a little bird feeder thingy. And
bird feeder thingy?
Yeah.
Is that different from a bird feeder standard?
Yes.
Okay.
So this morning I saw 3 different kinds of woodpeckers.
I did too. I saw 2 woodpeckers.
And a blue jay.
Cardinal.
You saw a cardinal?
Yeah.
Awesome.
2 woodpeckers.
So yeah, it was really good for birds. Now, our house siding is wood, so we're not big fans of having woodpeckers in the neighborhood, but they're really pretty. One of them had I think it was called a yellow-bellied sapsucker, which has a very red head.
Mm-hmm. Can I call you that when I'm mad?
If you want. Anyway, really pretty.
Yellow-bellied sapsucker.
Colorful birds today. It was awesome.
All right. So Mark says he's excited for Nicole Schmidt's website in a weekend that's coming up this weekend. She's going to do some exciting things with that. Let's see. Okay. I didn't. Matt's accusing me of saying that you were mentally checking out. So I don't know. I think that's maybe more me than him.
So what did I do to inspire that?
The phone thing, I think.
The phone thing.
But Matt, I don't know if you missed the yellow-bellied sapsucker. So that's going to be my new name for him whenever I'm mad.
They're really pretty birds.
But just a fun name. Actually, if you look online, there's a bunch of articles about like unfortunate bird names that also make really interesting insults.
Yeah, so we won't go there.
But if you're bored today. But yes, Nicole is doing something really cool. She is doing a website and a weekend free training for people that maybe want to have a website but don't know how, and it's not like a salesy thing. She said no promotions. It's just to learn to make a website in a weekend. So
that's really nice, and we're thankful for the people in this group, Serving and Succeeding. We're thankful for people doing things like this. It's a free thing to learn something about creating websites, and that's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome.
So Mark
that's
has had some free training as well.
Yeah, Mark has some. He does some. Well, I think his is $49. He has a budget boot camp.
Oh, that is.
Yeah, but I think he might have some. So whatever you have, if you have things you want to share, let us know.
Good morning, Matt.
Yeah, right. Mark says it sounds like an insult Joe Pesci would have used in Home Alone. It feels like swearing, not swearing. Yeah, I enjoy that. I think I might make a T-shirt with that on there. You inspired a line of.
Never mind. I didn't see any birds this morning. No birds. Not talking about birds.
All right.
I have homemade coffee. It's and a nice cup from Carla.
Yes, and I talked to Carla yesterday, and that was nice. So, Carla, if you're watching, hi. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching on the replay, as she normally does. Anybody who's here watching on the replay, please give us a hashtag replay. And yeah, it's gonna be a good day. So, speaking of promotions, it is Promotion Friday. So after we're done here, I'm gonna be putting up the promotion post. If that is the one time we just really encourage you to tell us about your business and or your crafts, or your consulting or your coffee. Whatever it is that you do, you can share on our promotions post. So we'll be posting that soon. But let's get into talking about the topic for today, which is career chat, which is today we're talking about changing industries.
This is a great one.
This is an important one because I actually have a lot of clients who come to me who are saying, I've always wanted to do this thing, but I don't know how I could even ever do it because I don't have any experience in it. Usually these are people that have worked for, 10 to 15 years in another industry. I'm going to use education as my example because I have a lot of people coming out of education, and I don't really want to speculate as to what that means. But we all know that, I left education as well. It is very time and mentality intensive. And then, oftentimes it's time to move on with that. So I have a lot of people coming out of education and looking to get into things like, for example, communications. Sometimes they're looking to get into project management, especially within bigger communications organizations. A lot of times they want to go from education into public service, working in the government under some capacity where they're able to lead programs, especially education related programs. And then other times it's just other things. So I'm working with a math teacher.
I'm in the other things department.
I'm in the other things department. So I'm working right now with a math teacher who is trying to make that transition from education into data science. And, that's an exciting transition for him, also just kind of getting to put into practice all those things he's taught for so many years. So a lot of times I will get that question, how do you do that? And so many people think it's not possible without, one, getting a whole lot of education, which might be true in some cases.
Yeah, if you're going to be a brain surgeon, you
probably should learn brain surgery.
Yeah, probably.
Or you can listen to that podcast, Dr. Death, about the guy who didn't actually know brain surgery. But I don't recommend that. But yeah, so a lot of times people think that you have to get a whole lot of education, or it's just something that's not ever going to be attainable, so they don't do it. It's
not true, just so you know.
It's not true. And one of the first things that you want to do is you want to look at what transferable skills you need from going to one industry to the other. So I'm going to go back to my education example because a lot of times people who are working in education have those skills. They've done those things. So for example, I'll go back to my data science person. He's looking to break into the corporate world doing data science to, help larger corporations make better decisions conversations specifically about software and things like that. But here's the thing. He's done all of that he has his master's degree. He's been teaching this stuff for years. He's created a lot of programs that have taught kids how to do some of this stuff on the cutting edge. And then at the same time, as a teacher, he's had a lot of experience with like leadership and communication and presentations, and actually a lot of things that, especially in the IT world, are not always standard. And so they're really looking for people in a lot of companies that can kind of do that have the math background, but that also can make compelling presentations and put information into words that people who don't have that background can understand, which is pretty important. So it's really kind of coming down to what are those transferable skills? Like what, have you done that is also going to apply in this new industry? So that's where I usually tell people to start.
Okay. I gotta say that the most important thing is being the person who could even consider doing something completely different. And that has everything to do with your attitude and your, who you are. And it's not, the skills can be learned for sure.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going into something where you have absolutely no experience, that's going to be a bit challenging.
That's harder. Yeah, that's definitely harder. But one of the things I want to say about that kind of combines both of these kind of areas is your attitude plus the skills you have, is that a lot of times people sell themselves short. Like they don't recognize the skills that they actually have, or the things that they've actually been doing. They don't recognize it because either they're just not thinking about, like they're not giving themselves credit. I work with a lot of people that are in that kind of field or that situation. Like they don't give themselves credit, or they're just not taking the time to really do an inventory of what it is that you have skills in and what you're.
Sorry. I think Matt made a great comment about risk tolerance. Some of us have tremendous risk tolerance and some of us don't.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I think that can be learned by taking risks and failing and finding that it's not going to kill you.
Sure. And then there's also different paths. You don't have to go from one career to another in 30 days.
Okay, who here has been in multiple industries and has taken those risks, and good or bad, failure or success? I bet there's some people here who have done this before, and if not, I'm going to tell stories about my professional life. So
yeah, and this is some things I've done a lot too. I was a reporter before I was a professor, and then I left education and started doing career coaching. So and it was also copywriting and all kinds of weird stuff during that. I think Mark makes an important point too, is that some managers would rather hire a blank slate than an established person that they need to untrain. I will say that 100% has been my experience maybe not 100%, 90%, but 100% that exists. My experience as a career coach, a lot of times people want to broaden their team with people that haven't had the same exact experiences as everybody else. Because, again, going back to the example with education, you get to touch a lot of different industries. You get to have a lot of experiences. You get to have a lot of conversations with people that maybe if you were coming up through the regular cookie cutter, way to get into this industry, you wouldn't have had those experiences. So I'm with you there as well.
Being untrainable has a lot to do with your attitude as well. So having the ability to become a blank slate
Mm-hmm.
is part of developing your attitude.
Right. Yeah. I think that your attitude's like with your risk tolerance or your attitude toward this idea, if you're always looking at it like, this is something I'd love to do, but I'm never going to do it. Okay, first of all, there are things like that we all have, and that's okay.
We all?
Yeah, I would think most of us.
Okay.
You know?
Just don't put me in that group.
Well, I love to be, I don't know, I'd love to be a supermodel, but I'm never going to do it. Just kind of those silly things.
Okay.
I think almost everybody has those.
I'm with you on the silly things, but
if you don't, I think that's kind of like you have a lack of imagination. I've always wondered what it would be like to, I don't know, be a sheep farmer in Ireland, something like that. You're probably not ever going to do because you maybe don't even really want to do it.
No, but you could do that.
But you wonder about it. It's just one of those things. But I would say, if you have something that you seriously would like to pursue, it's something that you always have felt like you are interested in and that you have some of the skill set for, and your attitude toward it is, I'm never going to do this. I'd love to do that, but it's never going to happen. That's a problem. But I would also suggest that in some situations, the path might be straighter than you think, or it might not be as hard as you think. It might be, but it also might not be. And some of that stuff, when people just think, oh, it's impossible, I'd never do it, it's just them psyching themselves out about it and not actually doing the research to see what would need to happen. So did we have another yellow belly sucker
We did.
comment?
So now I'm not going to tell the stories about all of my different industries.
Why not? We want to hear your stories. Otherwise, we'll call you a yellow-bellied sapsucker. I'm going to enjoy this for a while.
Okay, a few of them. So I grew up in a construction family, and I've been self-employed now since I was 21. That's a long time. Mm-hmm. And whenever I got bored with something or something wasn't working the way it needed to work, I was never one of those who thought about getting a job. I never applied for a job. Mm-hmm. Except when I was 17, I applied for a job and I got it. And there wasn't even an interview. So I've never had an interview.
But you've interviewed a lot of people.
Yeah. So it was always about what's the next company that I'm going to start. And they're all over the place and fun too. I might be easily bored. It might be part of the yellow-bellied sapsucker thing. You get bored with this tree, you go on to another tree. And so I have done so many fun things, started so many businesses. Sometimes it's merging businesses together. Sometimes it's actually selling or closing businesses. I've certainly done that. I think some of you have probably done that as well. If you follow a path that is a dead end, it doesn't make sense to do that indefinitely. We can't survive that way. So, yeah, and it's not just the work history that's different. I had on my bucket list to get a master's degree, specifically an MBA, which I did back in 2004, but I was in my 40s already. So,
yeah. So, I mean, I think that it really is because you have the attitude of like, what's my next?
Right. It's all about, what's my next adventure. Some of you know me as an adventurer, and business is the same way. It's, what's the next adventure? I mean, I've been in businesses that I never thought I'd be in. We owned a fairly large, not 9-story office building, and we had a security company in there that, they worked the front desk and all that sort of stuff. And they were not doing well. When we bought the company, they were there already, or bought the building, they were there already. And they were having a heck of a time. I don't think they would have lasted much longer, but we went ahead and bought the company and turned it around. And I had a partner and sold it, I don't know, a year or two later to my partner. But that was an interesting thing. I've been involved in high-tech companies, developing things like artificial intelligence and lots of real estate stuff. I still am involved in real estate. And gosh, there's even more. But the thing is, I think my attitude has everything to do with that, and my risk tolerance is extremely high, and it's just another adventure for me.
So let's talk about maybe another situation though that could be different. So I think your experience is.
I only did all that because you called me a yellow-bellied sapsucker.
So I think your experience definitely illustrates about like being open to opportunities and how that's that is definitely a huge part of it. But let's look at somebody that maybe is working a job right now that they don't like. And they feel like they have to move on for some reason. Either they're actually being required to move on, which is happening a lot right now as different companies are restructuring due to COVID. There's a lot of people that are, having to find other positions because they're just being eliminated or, just other things that are happening. So either that, or you just feel like you can't be there anymore. Like it's just not something that you are wanting to do, and it's frustrating. And let's talk about that kind of situation, because that's a little different where you have to you got to pick something. You've got to make a move, and you've got to do it fairly quickly. And your options are sort of, do I want to stay in this area that's familiar to me that I'm not really enjoying, or do I want to make a leap into something new? And so let's kind of talk about that situation. I think in that case too, there are lots of different opportunities for you to find something that might be a middle of the road thing. Not everybody can do a 180 right away and jump into that next thing that they want to do and, buy a security company or whatever it is. Some people are being forced with 6 months to find something new, and they're using that as the opportunity to do something that's going to get them a little closer to where they want to be. And a lot of times they're middle of the road places, or there's middle of the journey places where you can go to start making that shift towards what you've always really wanted to do, even if you're not going to be able to jump there right away. But I think some of the things that are consistent across the board with that are, like you said, attitude, seeing it as an opportunity instead of like, this is a horrible thing that's happened to me. And seeing it as an opportunity to do something new and exciting and fun and, move a little closer to where you've always wanted to be. The second thing would be, like I mentioned before, taking stock of what your actual skills are independently of your industry. So there's a way to talk about things that based like how your industries speak or language, and you want to try to think outside of that. So, what are the things you do and what actual skills does this demonstrate? So again, with the education thing, if you're creating lesson plans, creating lesson plans probably isn't going to mean anything to a software company, but what are you actually doing?
There's organizational skill in that.
Yeah, there's organization, there's planning. You have to do a whole lot of compliance, like aligning with standards with lesson planning. So those are just examples of, you really need to take stock of what you actually can do independently of how your industry talks about it. So that's number 2.
I'm thinking that a career coach comes in handy about this point.
Well, and that's the thing. A lot of people don't think about it that way. They just think of, I do all these things. I do lesson planning and I do lecturing and all of that. But what is it that you actually do? And realizing that sometimes this is exactly what this other organization or industry needs. So those are 2 things. And then the third thing, it really comes down to what we always talk about here, which is making connections and, building relationships with people, finding people that are doing what you want to do and talking to them and actually seeing, what it's like and trying to get to know people in that area so that when opportunities arise, you're going to be the one they think of. So those are really the 3 things that I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, Brandon is watching.
Hi, Brandon. I
Ursula's-
can't see. I don't have my phone today. I can't see who's here.
It's because he's a yellow-bellied sapsucker.
I can see a few of you. Some of you are just Facebook users.
Okay.
So
Ursula said, "Sounds like a fascinating work history to you."
thanks, Ursula. I take that as a compliment. It has been a fascinating history.
Mm-hmm. So Matt has an interesting comment here. He says, "I try to remind myself these decisions on career need only be based on what you want your life to look like. Design a life for you and your family that is ideal. All of the rest of the decisions and risk involved with it only comes down to money. There's always more money to make later, but your life and your family's life, along with the lifestyle that you define as success, is more important than anything."
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Matt. Actually, we tend to agree on a lot of things, and yeah, it's just another. Well, you mentioned risk tolerance. You mentioned attitude, I think, or maybe we did. But all these things, and it's only money.
Mm-hmm.
Deciding what you want your standard of living to be, which is not the same as your life, what is it, standard of living in your whatever life. What's
Lifestyle.
Lifetime.
Lifetime.
Maybe it's lifestyle. I know there was another word I was looking for. Yeah, like cereal. Anyway, your standard of living and your lifestyle, because I can't think of the word I wanted, are two different things. And gosh, why can't I think of that? I don't know.
I have no idea what word you're looking for. I really don't.
Anyway, those are things that you have to think about before you make a jump.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is this going to support my standard of living that I envision, or is it not? And oftentimes, whenever you make a big change like that, there's a dip for a while.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just magically jump into something that's paying more than you were earning before, unless you're really at the low end. That certainly is true.
But again, there are ways that you can create strategies to get to where you're going, even if you have to, even if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you can create a plan that will help you move into where you want to go. It may not
absolutely.
Be
Isn't that the career coach again?
But yeah, true. But it may not be immediate, but it is possible. Yeah. And that's really the thing is do you think it's possible? And do
you have a support system?
Yeah.
Keep you alive in the meantime?
Is it really something that you want also? Because again, we just kind of jokingly about, people who say, I want to be a supermodel or I'd like to be an astronaut. And we have these I
think I'm out of both of those.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I missed my opportunity to be on American Idol, but we talk jokingly about those things. But some people talk about truly possible career shifts with the same type of, it's just a fantasy, and that's not true. We all can probably tell stories of people who always wanted to do one thing or the other, but got derailed because of having a family or other things that they needed, that responsibilities, and then they went and they accomplished the thing. It was just later. So I think the big thing is, don't stay somewhere where you're truly unhappy. And if you're thinking that it's going to be, if you're feeling like this may not be my forever situation, then start thinking about where you want to go. Have a good attitude for it. And here's where the career coach part comes into play. Keep good records of what it is that you actually do and what it is that you actually achieve. And don't rely on things like performance evaluations and all that kind of stuff, because they're not going to have the most important things in there. I talk about sometimes having a wins list, that every day or every week you just kind of update that these are my wins. And sometimes they're little things. Sometimes they're not even related to your career, but it's just something that you win.
Can I interject a little bit?
Yes.
You mentioned thinking about all these things. I suggest writing about all these things. Keep a journal, because this is going to be super important
Keep a
down the
record of all
road.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, if you see that there's a trend in your journaling, maybe there's something there that you should explore a little bit more.
But keep your own metrics all the time for your whatever it is that you do. Keep your own metrics, keep your own list of wins, and keep I mean, I have like forms that can help people with this stuff.
And write down what kind of coffee you have every day.
How many creams is it actually? Because if you go to one Panera and then the other, and tell them 3 creams, it's going to taste totally different. Just put the creams in yourself. But it really is important to write these things down. I know it sounds like such a little thing, but I've worked with people for years. I mean, I think this is like my 8th year of working as a career coach. And so many people come to me in desperate situations saying my position just got eliminated. I have 6 months to find another position. I have
That's a long time.
Well, 6 months sometimes, but that's on the longer edge. But a lot of times they're looking to make a complete change.
Wow,
of
6
what
months.
they're doing.
That's enough time to make a complete change.
Not always.
No?
I mean, I've worked with a lot of people who think it is, and that's the problem. Is they think,
I got a lot of time, and
I'm going to do this,
then
and
all of a sudden it's 6 months later.
Exactly. Sometimes, but sometimes it'll be way less than that. Depending on the organization for sure. But the thing is, they'll come to me and they'll say, I have no information. I don't have any kind of description of what it is that I did in these different positions. I don't have any list of my projects. I don't have any idea of what my metrics are. And over again, I'll tell these people to keep their own metrics. And it's like they didn't even think about that, which I don't think we always.
What are some of the important metrics that you suggest?
It really depends on your industry and or your job title and what it is that you want to do or are uniquely gifted at. But I'll say this doesn't have to be like a huge numbers thing either. It can be just like keeping also track of details and specifics. Descriptive stuff is also important in certain industries. And if you don't have actual numbers, it's better than nothing. So always do that. But example would be like, if you worked on a project and the goal of it was to make it, make the customer experience faster. Well, did you actually do that? And how much faster? And were there any customer satisfaction scores that went up? But here's the thing. Your company has that information. They don't always give it to you. So if you can keep track of it, even just like with a tally, I talk to 100 people a day. These are the people that have made these kinds of remarks. These are the people do that. If possible, while you are still employed, try to get your hands on the stuff that your company has. Because sometimes if you ask, you'll get it. And here's the really challenging part.
The really challenging
Sometimes you have access to this stuff in your employee portal and you just never downloaded it. And then one day you walk in and the company is closing at noon and you've lost all of your access and you never downloaded that stuff. You never printed that stuff, and now you're stuck. This happens more than you think. Yeah, happens more than you think. Wow. I mean, it's not super common, but being locked out of having access, what's more common is you end up losing your job, and you have a period of time during which you could download that stuff, but you don't think to do it. And then you don't think about it until that 6 months has gone by and you've called someone like me and then you're like, I can't get that anymore. And here's the thing, guys, the reason why I'm super focused on this is because I did that too. When I was a freelancer writing resumes, all of my reviews from my customers, all of my ratings on my surveys and stuff like that, they were all within the portal that the company owned. And they, I just ended up letting them know that I wasn't going to be coming back, but I was going to finish all my projects. And they decided to just cut my access off that day. So I never got to download it. Yeah, so fortunately I was able to get that stuff through some other means later. It took me months. But just so you know, if that information exists, hang on to all that stuff. So Matt says, I tell people to spend 90 days before you build a resume getting all the internal facts about your career at that company while you're still there. Yeah, it's better if you can just do it consistently. I mean, 90 days is great, but if you just constantly do it, and I know I'm bad with this kind of stuff too, and then it doesn't pile up. If you just make it like every week, I'm going to get this information. This is what I do before I leave on Fridays, at 4:00. I always update these things. Yeah.
Things that I never think about.
Yeah, but it is, it no matter what you're doing, you should be keeping track of what you're doing with specifics.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of journaling, but
yeah,
mine's a little different than, I guess, career people.
Yours is not like Dear Diary.
No. Yeah.
No.
Okay. Well, there's been some good comments here. Brandon had some comments about teams and support that way, and I agree with that 100%. I can't see who some of these people
Mark
are, but
said, it's how it works in the banking world. When you offer your 2 weeks notice, they escort you out. And something Matt actually might be able to weigh in on too, because I usually just tell my clients to go talk to their attorney about this. But obviously, like, there's any kind of metrics that you keep yourself. I don't want to say any. Most metrics that you keep yourself, you can share because you've kept those things yourself. I want to say most because there are always weird situations. But some of the stuff that you get from your employer, you may not be able to share. So especially if you're in a really highly regulated industry, you need to talk to your attorney before you put that stuff, especially on a resume that's getting blasted to the whole world. Now, if you have a version of your resume that you just share confidentiality, like when you're in an interview, you bring that with you. You have like a brag book or something like that. That is a little different, but now it's the trend to put your resume on a million different sites out there, which I have opinions about too. So if you have questions about that, you can talk to me about that. But also like to put it on LinkedIn. But sometimes people have really confidential information on there that could get them in trouble for putting that all over the internet. Yeah. So you need to be careful with that. Because I always, having the metrics, having the information is good, but make sure you're not going to get yourself in trouble for it. So, yeah.
Okay, good info today, and we're way over time.
Way over time. And do you know why we're getting like an internet symbol there? Have we ever gotten an internet symbol there before? No,
not that I'm aware of.
Okay, it went away.
Well,
that's weird.
That was kind of like a Wi-Fi symbol, and we're not using Wi-Fi. We're Ethernet.
I don't know. If anybody saw us cut out or anything, let us know because we get a weird Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it shouldn't be happening. So. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your insight, and we appreciate all of you. Post in the group, Serving and Succeeding, if you have further questions or in this particular chat. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'd love to talk more about it. I think this was a good, it was enlightening for me today because I didn't experience all of these things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good stuff. And for those of you, if I were in a career and I needed to make or wanted to make a change today, I would certainly be looking for a career coach because there's a lot to it that I had never thought about.
There's a lot of stuff out there that's different than what it used to be, just because things are like a lot more competitive. But what's interesting is that so many people don't plan. They just, I lost my job, so I'm going to fire out my resume to 1 million people. And the first 3 people that I interview with, I'm going to take the one that pays the most, and I'm going to hate this job for the rest of my life, but it pays the most. You got to think differently than
no that. Negative waves, man.
That's not, but so many people, that's what they do.
Yeah. Okay. Don't do that. There's a better way.
There's always a better way than that. You may not, I've had to tell people before, look, this isn't, I know you're wanting to make this transition within the next 2 years, but I don't think that's going to happen for you. I think we could do it in the next 5 years. I've had to tell people that before and give reasons why. And I'd say, if you want to shoot for it, I'd be 100% behind you, but I want you to think about this before you spend your time on it. But there's always a better way than just floating around from one job to the other and, absolutely hating what you do. So, yeah. Okay. So we have some people, Mark and Matt are weighing in on the metrics things. So, yeah. Mark says that whenever somebody makes a claim during an interview without proof, it reminds me of one of my favorite movie quotes from Tom Cruise. And you have proof of this. Oh, wait, I forgot you were sick the day they taught law in law school. Nice.
Okay. On a positive note here, go out and make this a great day. It's a beautiful day in Chicagoland. It's cool, but it's sunny. And actually, it's supposed to warm up into the 40s.
Woohoo!
One of these
It's going to
days.
be 60 on Sunday. So.
60 on Sunday.
Yeah,
okay.
Get out your bathing suit. I'll see you all down at the beach.
Well, yeah. If you need something to do on Sunday, I think we're uncovering the sailboat. So
Fun.
we'd love to have more people there. That would be great. Okay, so go out and make this a great day. Do something really nice for somebody else and a whole bunch of people if you can. I know there are people listening to this who have the resources to do that. And I want to put in a little plug for Paul Henry's Art Gallery. Many of you know Paul Henry's Art Gallery, and Dave and Rita are keeping the arts alive in downtown Hammond, which is a big task in an old building. And they're trying to raise money to replace the roof. Please consider donating to that. It's a good cause. It's a great place. It's a turn of the last century building that just needs some work. So consider doing that. That could be your good thing for the day. All right. That's all. We will talk to you soon. Mm-hmm. And thank you for tuning in. And that's it.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.